I'm Alexia Valdez, reviewing the case study of AMO, a client. Before, I'd like to preface this that I have taught college level presentation classes, and so I'm fully aware that you're not supposed to have more than 6 words per slide, but in order to meet the requirements of the assignment, I have broken that. Please bear with me. Also, I'm sick, so I apologize. In this, we are going to, here's an outline of how I expect to try to spend the time. Let's begin. Timer. I posted on a social media forum that I'm in, a group of women, asking for someone to help me by being a mock client for assignment I'm doing. And the person who responded, I had lots of responses, and I chose one without too many issues, but some issues. And but she didn't come to me because she was feeling like she needed nutrition advice. She came to me to help me, but knew that she could use a little guidance. We met for the first time in November and the second and last time in December. But she wasn't coming to me feeling like she had a whole lot of problems. She knew she had some. She is a part-time high school science teacher with 2 young kids, and her husband, who she said was pretty supportive, but a lot of times responded when I said, could he cook or could he clean or could he take over putting the kids to bed, with no, he wouldn't do that. So some support, perhaps not ideal. She has years ago been diagnosed with an underactive thyroid by a naturopath years ago, and so has been taking a thyroid medication for that. And due to parasomnia and some insomnia, has been taking clonazepam to help with sleep. She has a BMI that is over the recommended BMI, and also she would like to have a lower BMI, but it's actually not her goal. She did a 3-day diet diary reporting that she ate about 5 times a day. The only processed food on there was like 1 snack of Funyuns, otherwise, and the nutrition supplement foods. But overall, she was getting an average of 1,700 calories a day when her DRA is 2,400. So I'm not so much concerned that she's not getting enough calories, although that will impact her energy levels and put her maybe into a physical state of caloric retention, but mostly that she's not going to be getting the micronutrients that 2,000 plus calories can deliver. I asked her about exercise, and she likes cardio dance, she likes to go to the Y, she likes to walk, but mostly she just gets her 7,000 to 10,000 steps per day at work and isn't doing these other activities because she's focusing more on food. She reported that she would eat sometimes as late as at 11 p.m. And I said, what time do you start eating? And she said, well, as soon as I wake up, because breakfast is the most important meal of the day. They say never to skip breakfast. That leaves 7 hours fasting and 17 hours fed. She reports that she has been on some sort of calorie restricted or dietary controlled diet since she was 10 years old. She's been for 4 decades obsessing over what she eats and over her weight. Her goals are to stop obsessing, constantly having the weight and the food picture in her mind all of the time so she can model a healthy relationship with food and weight for her daughters. She also wants that to be more healthy, more energetic, more comfortable now, as well as to be able to play with the grandkids and be self-sufficient when she's older. What I was able to assess is that with her low caloric intake, she's not getting enough building blocks in the forms of healthy fats, cholesterols, and micronutrients to rebuild the things that have been damaged, either just through normal life or through various bouts of malnutrition from different eating patterns. We talked about the fact that the protein shakes and bars are the ones she was eating. I know there are some that are less so. The ones she was eating were highly processed. Their ingredients were far from whole foods, and the vitamins in them were still supplemental, made in a factory vitamins rather than whole food vitamins that are part of that symbiotic food thing. Psychologically, her obsession with what she eats and weight is distracting her from living life and living in the moment, feeling happy. The sleep is affecting her psychology because we need hormones to balance our sleep out. Our sleep is a hormone-based activity. But while we're sleeping, we're supposed to be rebuilding, repairing, and creating more hormones to help with other processes. So that cycle is been broken, and the nutrients and sleep healing required for mood rehabilitation are lacking. Her set point may have been raised by past diets, so her weight may kind of be set and established where it is right now or somewhere close to it. So we recommended that she read the book Health at Every Size. I had mentioned the book, and she just got excited about it and went and purchased the book and read it in 1 month. So background on her conditions. Her thyroid is one part of this, which is affected by exercise, too much or too little. Probiotics can affect the thyroid because they're affecting the gut. Processed foods will reduce or interfere or negatively affect thyroid function. The gut, the inflammation, and the immune response are three that go together because the gut contains a lot of immune response. Inflammation can interfere with that, and some of the times the inflammation might be external, or there could be autoimmune factors. Sleep and thyroid are very closely related, and there's a feedback there. Poor sleep can harm thyroid function, and poor thyroid function interferes with sleep. And the thyroid's also influenced by the vitamins, iodine, selenium, vitamin D, and zinc. Her mood with some depression and anxiety is going to be affected by a lack of exercise and the lack of micronutrients and healthy fats that are help her build hormones to help improve mood. And this lack of sleep is feeding in, the parasomnia is feeding in to the lack of building blocks, lack of healing time. And the exercise could really, really help with the sleep. But I asked her how was her sleep when she exercises to exhaustion for 30 minutes or whatever every day. And she says, I don't know, I've never done that. This part is where we get into what we know about these scientifically. This article talks about the role of nutrition on thyroid function and each of the nutrients and how they play into thyroid function. Iodine, zinc, vitamin D, and selenium, healthy levels of those very strongly affect healthy thyroid function, and not enough is negative for the thyroid. But it said that supplementing with them doesn't always, needs more research, except for vitamin D. Vitamin D supplementation has a positive effect on the thyroid, but not as much. Basically, they're saying you need these, but you need to get them from whole foods. The microbiota, it does influence thyroid function. A healthier gut, and you need to eat your probiotics. You need to get probiotic foods so that your gut is healthier. There is a feedback system between the gut and the thyroid. Now, this is overall a very important article to share with clients who take supplements, is that unless you have a deficiency or a disease that these are addressing, taking the supplement isn't actually recommended, and that there are even studies that show that taking certain micronutrient supplements without a deficit or any indication of need can increase your risk of certain cancers. So just taking micronutrients prophylactically isn't our favorite option. And this article addressed how people with thyroid problems didn't seem to benefit. No significant benefit was shown from just supplementing with your usual thyroid micronutrients, so selenium, iodine, etc. Although getting sufficient iodine is vitally important. Now, I was able to share with my client that intermittent fasting has just universally been proven to be beneficial. Animals, humans, quality of life, longevity. Intermittent fasting is great, but we do have to be careful with it. So breakfast being the most important meal of the day, never skip breakfast. If you're a performance athlete, it might be beneficial for you to eat as soon as you wake up, eat before your workout. That can really help. But for the rest of us, sedentary Americans eating the standard American diet or something like it, trying to get away from so much restaurant food and processed food, it actually can be beneficial to not eat as soon as you wake up, to eat after you exercise, and to shrink that window of intermittent fasting. Now, this is one of my favorite studies. It's out of Italy, and they took the same 12 volunteers this week and another week, and they had 12-hour fasting on both times. They took the biometrics, they took the blood pressure, blood sugar, all the blood work morning, and then blood sugar throughout the day. The difference: on the first week they ate orange juice, ciabatta, salad, vegetable, chicken, I think in that order, and they took their blood sugars throughout the day. And then they took the following week, 12-hour fast, they had the chicken first, then the vegetable, then the salad, then the ciabatta, then the orange juice. And their blood sugar levels with the orange juice first were terrible all day. They weren't so good. They weren't stable. Whereas when you had the chicken first, the same exact food, if you have the chicken first, your blood sugar levels were stable. So I was able to share that with a client, so that she could change the order of how, if she is going to eat the same thing, change the order of it to make sure you aren't having refined carbs before your proteins and fats and fibers. Now, we did talk about the set point and how if you've been dieting and on calorie restriction all your life, it can eke your set point upward. And that might be something she isn't able to fight against. Nutrition does affect sleep. So there is a correlation there. And people need to focus on it. Then people with thyroid function and nutrition, that effect is also very strong in that you can't heal your thyroid if you're not sleeping right. So it says that the sleep and the thyroid thing, there's a mutual relationship there. And as far as my client's mood and depression goes, there's a definite need for protein, for amino acids, and also just nutrition in general has a very strong effect on people's moods, people's depression, and our brain chemistry. This study didn't actually prove that exercise was improving anyone's blood results for their thyroid levels, but the people with hypothyroidism who did the exercise plan in this study did report that they had just better overall quality of life. So sometimes the studies aren't going to show you that there is improvement it'll show you there's no particular improvement in the numbers, but if something can improve your quality of life, you might want to look into that. My client, of course, was thinking that just getting the 10,000 steps a day was it, but when you look at this, the first is a popular article explaining that it just was something a number arbitrarily come up with by because of the Tokyo Olympics. And while it's good, everyone will always benefit from adding more steps in their lives. That's not saying this is exactly what everyone always needs and is always enough. For most of us eating the standard American diet, or even part-time eating it, we still need cardiovascular. For those of us sitting at desks for large portions of our day, we still need to get in cardiovascular activity. And the effective diet on thyroid was not there weren't a lot of studies showing that correlation, but this study did show that processed food and fast food is actually has a negative effect on thyroid function. The damage of dieting is not good for our mindsets. Overall, just dieting for the sake of dieting isn't ideal. Rigid dietary control, orthorexia, can lead to or be a form of disordered eating. Whereas just following intuitive eating can be healing that relationship with food and leading you away from disordered eating. The intermittent fasting, there's also research showing that people who take intermittent fasting too far, it does have an overlap, intermittent fasting and disordered eating. There's a lot of overlap there. So I did warn my client, don't get obsessed with intermittent fasting. Do it in a way that is wholesome, balanced, and still giving you the nutrients you need. Because in the end, we need to put well-being over weight. We need to emphasize mental and physical health and the inclusive, healthy, fat-positive approach to our health can lead to better mental health and also can actually help us lower our weight because we're coming from a better place, and so we're not so depressed, we're not so anxious, and we can eat a more wholesome food without eating for the dopamine of it. I was able to make some recommendations. The student read Health at Every Size and loved it. And we'll be trying to eat closer to her recommended number of calories. She'll try to maybe bring her breakfast with her to work instead of making sure she eats it before work, where it's right after she wakes up. And then not eating more than 2 hours and 20 minutes after dinner, which will bring that last food event a little bit farther away from bedtime. And then she's going to aim to get her micronutrients from whole foods, non-processed foods, even the nutrient ones, the nutritious ones. And then exercise, we did talk about how if you've been obsessed with one thing like food for so long, you might need to replace it with a new obsession. But if maybe we can do it mindfully and self-aware, that I'm choosing to switch to an exercise mindset, but not to lose weight so much as to say, hey, I am my own first aid kit. My health, someone might need me. My daughter might be camping across the field, hurt her leg. She might need me to run to her. I want to be able to run to be functional in life, not to lose weight. The client's going to avoid sugar, corn syrup, and processed foods, eat some probiotics. I put yogurt in her eating plan. I also encourage her to eat more kimchi or whatever living foods she can find, and to utilize the lunchbox to bring breakfast to work, to bring dinner to choir and theater in the evenings rather than coming home and eating really late. Our first, in November, our first SMART goal regarding exercise was very standard, but when I saw her in December, I said, how'd you do? And she said, didn't happen. And so we looked at what she likes to do and her schedule and how erratic it is with the 2 kids. And I said, I know you like routine. I really like routine. And let's aim for something that will be the same every week. But what if you walked on Monday and Thursday at 2 because you can on those days? But then you did the Tuesday Zumba class at the Y, and you did the swimming at 10 a.m. on Saturday, and then you did the cardio dancing on Wednesday at 3. And you just did that every week the same. And she lit up because we were able to think outside the box and find a plan that worked for her rather than feeling like I missed my first day of this one specific thing that I'm supposed to do every day, therefore it's a wash. She's able to see that she can patchwork something together. Her nutrition SMART goal is to consume the calories that she needs and eat the healing cereal every morning for breakfast, as well as we added it in December to narrow the eating window. So once she's able to exercise 4 or 5 times a week till she's out of breath and consume more than well, for the first 2 weeks, consume up to 2,000 calories, and the second 2 weeks, maybe hit that 2,400. Then we can reevaluate. Did the exercise help with the sleep? And I'm going to have to recalculate, did the increase in calories increase the micronutrients? Or are there any deficiencies in micronutrients? When I saw the client for that second time in December, I asked her how things were doing, and she said she gained 4 pounds. And I said, oh no, I let you down. I'm sorry. I'm the worst nutritionist ever. And she said, no, this is what I needed. I needed to release my overattachment to diet and to weight. And she feels like she now has a different focus that's more about taking care of her body and changing old mental patterns. And that once she's able to incorporate this exercise, perhaps she can, maybe her set point will go down, maybe she will lose the weight, maybe she won't, but she feels like she'll be healthier mentally and physically. So I was really pleased to hear that. And then the fact that she then said, how can I see you again and have you as my nutritionist after this is over? That was the highest recommendation that I could see. So a happy client makes me feel really happy. Thank you.